Imagine being one of the biggest stars in the world, loved by fans everywhere. The world knows your name, and you're constantly in the spotlight. You've lived a life many only dream of: fame, fortune, success, adoration. But what happens when that seemingly perfect life starts to unravel? What happens when the spotlight that once felt warm begins to burn, and the world that once cheered you on turns into a place where everyone's waiting for you to fail? Johnny Depp knows this feeling all too well. He has been one of the most well-known actors of his generation. From his unforgettable performance as Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean to his portrayal of quirky, offbeat characters in movies like Edward Scissorhands, Depp has always been a part of pop culture. His films have earned him both fame and acclaim, and he's built a reputation as an enigmatic, yet deeply artistic figure in Hollywood. But behind all the glitz, the cameras, and the flashing lights, there was something much darker at play. Depp has always been open about his love for his craft. He's been known as someone who takes risks with his roles, someone who doesn't shy away from taking on roles that are unconventional or unexpected. But despite his success and popularity, there was a side to Depp that few truly understood, a side that was hidden beneath the public persona. And it's this side that he's now finally breaking his silence about. Johnny Depp has spent years being silent. Not because he didn't have anything to say, but because he was terrified. Terrified of what the world would think if he spoke out. Terrified of being misunderstood, misjudged, and criticized. You see, as much as fame might seem like the ultimate achievement, it also comes with its own set of pressures, expectations, and insecurities that most of us can't even begin to imagine. At the height of his fame, Depp was arguably the biggest star in Hollywood. He had the career, the recognition, and the opportunities to take on any project he wanted. But despite all of that, there was something lurking beneath the surface. Something that only those closest to him could see: the pain, the fear, and the overwhelming pressure to live up to not only the expectations of others but his own internal standards. Imagine for a moment that you're in Depp's shoes. You've had success, you've seen it all, but the world around you is slowly falling apart. Relationships are crumbling, personal struggles are becoming too much to bear, and your sense of self, who you are beneath the fame, is starting to disappear. You look in the mirror, but the person staring back at you doesn't feel familiar anymore. You no longer recognize yourself. The person you were before, the one who was carefree, the one who loved what he did, seems to be slipping away. For Johnny Depp, this moment of self-realization was one of the hardest things he had ever faced. He was no longer the same person he once was. The fame, the pressure, the constant scrutiny, these things had taken a toll on him. He wasn't just struggling with the expectations of the public, he was struggling with the expectations he had placed on himself. He had become so focused on living up to the world's image of who Johnny Depp should be that he lost sight of who Johnny Depp actually was. There's something deeply human about this struggle, isn't there? We all go through moments in our lives when we feel like we've lost ourselves. Whether it's the pressure of school, work, relationships, or just life in general, there are times when it feels like everything is coming at you at once. And in the midst of all that chaos, it's easy to forget who we are. To forget why we started in the first place. To forget what truly matters to us. Johnny Depp's journey wasn't just about facing external pressures. It was about confronting his own fears. The fear of losing himself. The fear of letting down the people who had supported him throughout his career. The fear of not being enough, not just as a celebrity, but as a human being. It was during this time of turmoil that Depp found himself in a situation that many of us have experienced at one point or another. He was afraid to speak out. Afraid to be judged. Afraid of the backlash that might come from speaking his truth. And so, he remained silent. But in that silence, something far more dangerous began to happen. The silence began to consume him. It wasn't just an absence of words, it became an absence of self. He lost his voice, and in doing so, he began to lose parts of himself. Think about it. How often do we, too, remain silent in our lives. We stay quiet because we're afraid of being judged, or because we don't think we're worthy of speaking up. We stay silent because we don't want to rock the boat, or because we fear what others will think of us. But in doing so, we end up silencing ourselves. We stop advocating for what we need, stop standing up for what we believe in, and, ultimately, stop living authentically. For Depp, silence was both a shield and a prison. It protected him from the world's scrutiny, but it also kept him from healing. And that's the thing about silence, it can be a powerful tool, but it can also be incredibly isolating. It's a coping mechanism, yes, but it's also a way to avoid facing the truth. The longer you stay silent, the harder it becomes to break free. But then something changed for Depp. He realized that the only way to break free from the suffocating silence was to face his fears head-on. He had to confront the very thing he was most afraid of, his own vulnerability. He had to let go of the facade, the mask he had been wearing for so long, and speak the truth. And so, when he did finally break his silence, it wasn't with anger or resentment. It wasn't to lash out or seek revenge. It was with a quiet admission, I was terrified. That simple statement, I was terrified, was the turning point in Depp's story. It was the moment when he finally stopped running from his fears. It was the moment when he realized that he didn't need to be afraid anymore. He had spent so long living in the shadow of his own fear that he had forgotten what it felt like to be free. And it was in that moment of clarity that he began to reclaim his sense of self. What we can learn from Depp's journey is so much more than just a celebrity redemption arc. It's a reminder that fear, vulnerability, and silence are things we all experience, no matter who we are. It's easy to look at someone like Johnny Depp and think that fame and success mean you have it all figured out, but the truth is, fame doesn't shield you from the human experience. It doesn't protect you from fear. It doesn't prevent you from struggling with your own sense of identity. And that's what makes Depp's story so relatable. It's not just a tale of a famous actor overcoming adversity. It's a story about the fear we all face, the fear of being judged, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of not living up to expectations. We all face these fears at some point, and sometimes, it feels like we're carrying them alone. But Depp's story reminds us that we're not alone. We all go through struggles. We all face our demons. And sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is speak up and share our truth. As Johnny Depp has shown, speaking up isn't always easy. It takes courage. It takes strength. But it's also necessary. Because silence might protect us for a while, but it doesn't heal us. It doesn't set us free. And in the end, the only way to move forward is to face our fears, speak our truth, and find the courage to be ourselves. Authentically, unapologetically, and without shame. So, what's the takeaway here? Johnny Depp's journey is a powerful reminder that silence can only protect us for so long. At some point, we have to find our voice. At some point, we have to stop being afraid of what others think and start living for ourselves. It's never too late to speak up. It's never too late to find your way back to who you truly are. The truth is, we all have fears. We all have moments when we're unsure of ourselves, when we feel like we're losing who we are. But just like Depp, we can face those fears. We can break our silence. We can reclaim our voice. And when we do, we'll find the freedom to be who we've always been, whole, strong, and unapologetically ourselves.